cheese chocolate bar was made?
Well, in this video, you're gonna find out.
We've put together a short stop-motion animation to explain the chocolate industry from cocoa to chocolate bar.
So first, we should go over some basics. Cocoa trees are grown in strictly tropical places, such as in Africa, and they only grow in hot, rainy climates.
Ivory Coast is the biggest exporter in Africa of cacao.
And it can only be grown 10 degrees north or south of the equator, and the trees need a lot of shade from the sun and the wind.
Wow, that's a pretty limited span of global space.
It is, Alden. And each tree needs about 10 to 15 years to grow. Crazy stuff. So because these cacao trees are so important, they need a lot of pest control and inputs from the farmers to control these pests. So if a farmer is growing the cocoa tree sustainably, then there's minimal pest control that's needed. Usually farmers use the machete method, which is when they walk through their forest and cut off any diseased pods quickly so that the disease cannot spread to other trees. However, when farmers do not sustainably grow cocoa, instead if they grow it in large plantations all by itself, the disease can quickly spread from tree to tree, and usually the soil is malnourished, resulting in the farmer having to use supplements for the soil and more pest control.
Climate change heavily impacts this crop. Above all, cocoa is most sensitive to changing rainfall patterns. Cocoa trees need between 1,500 millimeters and 2,000 millimeters of rainfall a year. These trees are sensitive to soil deficiency. If climate change reduces rainfall in these areas of the world, or if rainfall precipitation patterns become sporadic, cocoa trees may not be able to survive.
So because there are so many plantations growing cocoa trees, there is a large impact of the cultivation of these crops on the native wildlife and plants. Due to the high labor intensity of the crop, many farmers are spending less and less time caring for their trees. This is also due to the increase of some pests and diseases within the cocoa trees, such as cocoa capsids, cocoa swollen shoot virus, and black pod disease. Following this neglect, many cocoa trees have reduced production rates, leading farmers to expand their groves to produce the same amount of cocoa that could be produced from their plants if they focused on eradicating diseases and improving care. This is leading to the destruction of African rainforests and in turn the removal of native wildlife from certain areas.
There are two main species of cocoa, Criollo and Forastero. Criollo is a high grade of cocoa which results in exceptional flavor. This is grown mainly in the Caribbean and Central America. However, only 15% of the world's cocoa is Criollo. Forastero is mainly grown in Brazil and Africa and is much more plentiful. It's easier to produce, cultivate, and is more productive than Criollo, and is used in almost every chocolate blend in the world. Trianto is a hybrid of these two types of cocoa and is also easy to cultivate. Although these are the main types of cocoa, there are many varieties within them. Woo! Crazy info there! We have a lot more to talk about. Let's start talking about the economic considerations of cocoa. Here we have a worker harvesting the cocoa beans from a native cocoa tree.
So, cocoa is a viable crop to grow due to the global market / constant demand for the product. Because the demand for chocolate is increasing and is also stable, the demand for cocoa is also increasing. As of right now, in many countries, cultivating cocoa is a viable crop due to its long production time, demand, and access. In many countries where cocoa is grown, such as Ghana, Indonesia, etc., many farmers depend on the industry for 70% to 100% of their annual income. Cocoa is grown on millions of small and medium-sized farms, 1 to 5 hectares each. These farms are family-run, and cocoa provides income to more than 4.5 million families worldwide. However, because the chocolate consumption rate is increasing faster than the cocoa industry can keep up with, many places are focusing on increasing the area where they cultivate the trees instead of improving the yield. This is leading to the disappearance of African rainforests in the areas of cocoa production.
After the beans are harvested, they are dried for multiple days and then packed into sacks. The farmer sells to a buying station or a local agent. The buyer then transports the bags to an exporting company. The exporting company inspects the cocoa and places it in burlap sacks. The cocoa is trucked from the exporter warehouse near a port. Sometimes additional dyeing is necessary at this point. The average price of cocoa varies, but the U.S. has a contract with various cocoa providers in Africa. Through March of this year, they will pay $2,236 per metric ton. The average bean weighs about 0.022 pounds, and there's about 90,909 beans in a ton, so that puts the price per bean at about 2 cents. So while cocoa is very affordable to us here in America, the average cocoa farmer in Africa only makes about $2 a day, less than $2 a day usually. Just so we're clear, that is not the Indiana Jones Lego figure, that is a native cocoa farmer. But here we see the cocoa being transported and dried after it's been dried to a cocoa sack, and is then loaded up into a cargo ship.
So, the cocoa is packed into exporting containers and is shipped to another port. There, the cocoa is inspected again and shipped to a processing location. Cocoa usually changes hands about 2 to 3 times from the grower to the producer of chocolate.
Bye-bye, cocoa. Have a safe trip. Oh boy, there it goes to Pennsylvania, to the Hershey's chocolate production factory. Now we see the beans getting roasted. The beans are roasted after close inspection upon arrival. Once inspected, they are ground to a finite dust.
And then they're melted down into cocoa liquor. This liquor can be sold or refined further into different cocoa products.
It's non-alcoholic liquor.
Very true.
After it's liquorized, there are 2 products of it: cocoa and cocoa butter, cocoa powder and cocoa butter.
So, there's the division of the liquor into cocoa butter and cocoa butter cakes and cocoa powder. So the producer has the option of alkalizing the liquor, which reduces the acidity. This causes it to become darker and milder, but with a richer chocolate taste. The cocoa liquor is mixed with cocoa butter, sugar, and usually milk. Mixture is then stirred and smoothed over heat. This lasts from a few hours to 3 or more days. The liquid is then shipped or poured into molds for sale in blocks to confectioners, bakers, and dairies. People consume more than 3 million tons of cocoa beans annually. The cocoa, chocolate, and confectionery industry are also key consumers for products such as sugar, dairy, nuts, and fruits.
The end result is, wait for it,